Philippines, Mindanao Island, September 14th, 1902, 2:17 in the afternoon. The jungle swallow sound. Corporal Michael Reeves, 24 years old from Indiana, hears his own breathing. Nothing else. The Moro warrior is 60 feet away when Reeves sees him. Chainmail, water buffalo horn armor across the chest. A crisp blade, 14 inches of wavy steel gripped in the right hand. The warrior's eyes are wide, not afraid. Something else. Something chemical. Reeves raises his service revolver. Model 1892, 38 caliber. The Army issued it 3 years ago. Lighter than the old 45s. More accurate, they said. Modern. The Moro charges. Reeves fires. Center mass. The doctrine is simple. Aim for the largest target. The torso. Fire until the threat stops. The warrior keeps coming. Reeves fires again. 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 The revolver bucks in his hand. 3 shots. 4. 5. The Moro is 30 feet away. 20. Reeves empties the cylinder. 6 rounds total. All hits. He knows they're hits because he can see the impacts against the armor, the chain mail, the flesh beneath. The warrior does not stop. 10 feet. Reeves reaches for another cylinder. His fingers are slow. The Moro is fast. The Chris comes up in an arc. Reeves sees sunlight on the blade. He thinks of his mother. He thinks of Indiana. He thinks nothing. The blade finds his throat. When reinforcements arrive 40 minutes later, they count the wounds. 6 bullet holes in the Moro's chest. 6 entry points. None of them stopped him. Reeves lies in a spreading pool of his own blood, the empty .38 still gripped in his right hand. The report goes to Manila, then Washington, then a desk in the War Department, where a general named William Crozier reads it and reaches for a pen. The question forms, what kills certainty? 16 years later. Argonne Forest, France. October 8th, 1918. 1:03 in the afternoon. Rain has been falling for 3 days. The forest floor is mud. Corporal Ezekiel Bridger, 30 years old from Tennessee, crouches behind an oak tree 40 inches thick. His Springfield rifle is empty. 7 rounds fired. 7 German machine gunners no longer operating their weapons. But there are more Germans, always more. 6 of them specifically, coming through the timber at a running crouch. Fixed bayonets. 40 yards in closing. Ezekiel can hear them breathing. He can hear their boots in the mud. He counts them. Back to front. Rear man first. The way you count turkeys. His Springfield is empty. The magazine is empty. Reloading takes time he doesn't have. They are 30 yards away now, 25. Ezekiel holsters the rifle across his back, draws the pistol from his hip. Model 1911, automatic, 45 caliber, 7 rounds in the magazine, 1 already chambered. The weapon weighs 39 ounces. It cost the Army $14.50. The Germans are 20 yards out. Ezekiel can see their faces. The rear man is older, maybe 35. The front man is young, 18, 19. Terror in his eyes or something like it. Ezekiel aims at the rear man, the old one, the one the others can't see. He squeezes the trigger. The pistol reports, a sharp crack that cuts through the rain. The rear German drops. The others don't notice. They're focused forward, focused on the American behind the tree. Ezekiel shifts his aim. The second to last man, 15 yards now. The pistol barks again. The German spins, falls. Still the others don't see. They're running, yelling, committed. 3rd shot. 4th. 5th. The Germans are falling backward, collapsing from the rear forward. By the time the front 2 men realize their squad is gone, they are 10 yards from Ezekiel's position. Too close to retreat, too far to reach him before he shoots. 6th shot. 7th. The last German stumbles, falls to his knees, looks up at Ezekiel. The boy's helmet has fallen off. His hair is blonde, thin. He's younger than Ezekiel thought. 17 maybe. There's a hole in his throat. Blood coming fast. The German tries to speak. Can't. Falls forward into the mud. 8 seconds, start to finish. 6 men, 6 rounds. The 7th still in the chamber. The pistol's slide has locked back. The magazine is empty. But the weapon did not jam, did not misfire, did not fail. Ezekiel's hands are shaking. His breath comes in gasps. Behind him, Private Caleb Oakes crawls forward through the mud. Jesus Christ, Zeke, what the hell was that? Ezekiel doesn't answer. He's staring at the blonde boy, the one who tried to speak. He's thinking about turkeys. He's thinking about Tennessee. He's thinking about 14 years ago when the hunger taught him how to shoot. 16 years earlier, Hancock County, Tennessee. Late summer 1902. The Bridger family sharecropped 40 acres on land they didn't own. Tobacco mostly, some corn, whatever the landowner, a man named Ephraim Wolf, told them to plant. The arrangement was simple. Wolf provided the land and the seed. The Bridgers provided the labor. At harvest, they split the crop 60-40. Wolf kept 60. In good years, the Bridgers ate. In bad years, they borrowed. By the summer of 1902, Ezekiel's father Obadiah Bridger owed Wolf $340. The debt had been building for 6 years. Interest compounded. The numbers grew. Obadiah was 47. His back hurt. His hands shook in the mornings. He worked from dawn until dark and made less every year. The tobacco market was falling. The debt was rising. Mathematics without mercy. Ezekiel was 14 that summer. He had a younger sister, Prudence. Everyone called her Prudy. She was 8. Their mother had died in childbirth trying to deliver a third child 2 years earlier. The baby died too. So it was Obadiah, Ezekiel, and Prudy. 3 people trying to survive on land that belonged to someone else. August came. The tobacco was weeks from harvest. Obadiah sat at the kitchen table staring at a ledger he couldn't change. "We need money," he said, "for harvest. Something to eat. Something to pay down the interest." Ezekiel was cleaning his father's rifle. An old Springfield, single shot, 45-70 caliber. The barrel was worn, but the action was sound. "I can hunt," Ezekiel said. Obadiah looked up. "Hunt what?" "Wild turkeys. Hotel in Chattanooga pays $1.25 a bird, sometimes more. That's 40 miles. I can walk it." Obadiah studied his son, 14 years old, thin, strong in the shoulders from fieldwork, good eyes, steady hands. "Ammunition costs money," Obadiah said. 8 cents a cartridge, Ezekiel said. "If I shoot straight, 1 cartridge, 1 turkey, $1.25 minus 8 cents, $1.17 profit." Obadiah was quiet. "Then if you miss, can't miss," Ezekiel said. "Prudy needs to eat." The mathematics of necessity are simple. 1 cartridge costs 8 cents. 1 turkey sells for $1.25. Miss the turkey, lose the 8 cents. Lose enough 8-cent cartridges, and Prudy goes to bed hungry. Ezekiel learned to shoot the way a man learns to breathe underwater. Quickly, completely. Or not at all. Wild turkeys are not easy targets. They startle at sound. They see movement at 300 yards. They fly when threatened. A running turkey can reach 15 miles per hour. A flying turkey can hit 55. The key is patience and understanding how turkeys think. They travel in flocks. 10 birds, 15, sometimes 20. They have a hierarchy. The older birds lead. The younger birds follow. When threatened, they scatter. But they don't all see the threat at the same moment. If you shoot the front bird first, the others see it fall. They panic. They fly. You get 1 turkey. If you shoot the rear bird first, the others don't notice. They keep walking, pecking, feeding. You can take a second shot, sometimes a third. Ezekiel learned this in September 1902. He was hunting a flock of 11 turkeys in a clearing 4 miles from the Bridger farm. He aimed at the lead bird, fired, hit it clean. The other 10 birds exploded into flight. He walked home with 1 turkey, sold it for $1.25, spent 8 cents on the cartridge. Net profit $1.17. The next day he tried something different. He let the flock walk past his position, waited until they were strung out in a line, aimed at the last bird. The rearmost turkey fired. It dropped. The others kept walking. They didn't see it fall. Ezekiel reloaded, aimed at the new rear bird, fired. It dropped. The flock walked on. He took 4 birds from that flock before the others sensed something wrong. By then he had 4 turkeys, $5 in revenue, 32 cents in ammunition. Net profit $4.68. Prudy ate meat that week. 14 years, from age 14 to age 28. Ezekiel hunted wild turkeys in the Cumberland Mountains. He kept a tally in a notebook. 847 birds total, 817 clean kills, 30 misses. Success rate 96.4%. The average distance 82 yards. The longest shot 163 yards. That bird was walking uphill into wind. Ezekiel calculated 2 feet of drop, 1 foot of wind drift. He aimed 3 feet high and 1 foot left of the bird's head. The bullet took the turkey in the neck. Clean kill. He walked 40 miles to Chattanooga every Saturday, sold the week's birds to the Piedmont Hotel. The chef there, a man named Samuel Croft, paid cash. No questions. Ezekiel walked the 40 miles back on Sunday, gave the money to his father. Obadiah paid down the debt, slowly, $8 one week, $12 another. By 1910, the $340 debt was $190. Prudy grew. 8 years old became 12. Became 16, she learned to read. Ezekiel bought her books with turkey money. She wanted to be a teacher. Ezekiel made sure she ate enough to have the energy to study. In 1914, Obadiah was plowing the north field when the mule spooked. The plow jerked. Obadiah's hand was caught in the harness. The mule dragged him 30 feet before Ezekiel could get it stopped. Obadiah's left hand was crushed. 3 fingers broken. The thumb dislocated. The doctor in Sneedville set the bones, but the hand never worked right again. A farmer with one working hand earns less, plants less, harvests less. The debt stopped shrinking, started growing again. Ezekiel increased his hunting. 6 days a week now, every week, every season. The hotel in Chattanooga bought everything he brought. Turkey in fall and winter, squirrels in spring, rabbits year-round. The mathematics never changed. Miss the shot, lose the money. Lose the money, Prudy doesn't eat. Prudy doesn't eat, she can't study. She can't study, she won't be a teacher. She won't be a teacher, she'll be a sharecropper's wife. Another generation of debt. Ezekiel couldn't miss, so he didn't. April 6, 1917, Hancock County, Tennessee. President Wilson declared war on Germany. The news reached Sneedville 3 days later. The recruitment officer arrived a week after that. He set up a table outside the general store. A sign, enlist today, serve your country, $50 signing bonus. Ezekiel was 29. Prudy was 23. She'd finished school, passed the teaching examination. She had a job at the Sneedville schoolhouse. Salary $18 a month. She was saving to marry a man named Henry Oakes. A good man, a clerk at the general store. Steady work. Obadiah's debt was still $190. At $18 a month, Prudy would need 10 months to pay it off, assuming she spent nothing on herself, nothing on her wedding, nothing on food. Ezekiel walked to the recruitment table. The officer was a lieutenant, young, maybe 25, clean uniform, smooth hands. Name, the lieutenant said. Ezekiel Bridger. Age, 29. Occupation, farmer, hunter. The lieutenant looked up. Hunter. Yes, sir. What do you hunt? Turkeys mostly, some squirrels, rabbits. You any good? Haven't missed a shot in 3 years. The lieutenant wrote something in his ledger. Can you read it? Yes, sir. Write, well, yes, sir. Any medical conditions? No, sir. Sign here. The lieutenant pushed a paper forward. $50 on completion of basic training. Paid to family if you designate. Ezekiel read the paper. It was a contract. 3 years of service. Possible extension depending on war duration. He thought about Prudy, about the debt, about Obadiah's ruined hand. He signed. Camp Gordon, Georgia, May 1917. Basic training was 8 weeks. Ezekiel learned to march, to salute, to follow orders. Most of it felt unnecessary. He already knew how to shoot. He already knew how to live on short rations. Sleeping on the ground didn't bother him. He'd done it 100 times hunting turkeys. What bothered him was the shooting doctrine. The marksmanship instructor was a sergeant named Marcus Ashford, 38 years old, West Point graduate, 15 years in the Army. He taught the recruits how to shoot the way the Army wanted them to shoot. Sighted picture, Ashford said. Front sight notch, rear sight notch. Target, on a line all 3, breathe, squeeze. Ezekiel could do this. He'd been doing it since he was 14. When engaging multiple targets, Ashford said, you fire on the nearest threat first, front to back, closest to farthest. This is doctrine. This is what keeps you alive. Ezekiel raised his hand. Question, recruit. Sergeant, what if the nearest target can see you fire? Won't they scatter? Then you track them and continue firing, front to back, always front to back. But if you shoot the rear target first. Recruit Bridger, are you arguing with doctrine? No, Sergeant, just asking. Doctrine exists because men smarter than you wrote it. Men with more experience. Men who survive combat. Do you have combat experience, recruit? No, Sergeant. Then you will learn doctrine. You will follow doctrine. You will shoot front to back. Understood. Yes, Sergeant. But at night when the barracks were dark, Ezekiel thought about turkeys, about rear to front, about how the mathematics worked when the targets couldn't see each other fall. The armorer at Camp Gordon was a man named Isaiah Crow, 54 years old. He'd been maintaining weapons for the Army since 1889. He'd seen every rifle, every pistol, every piece of equipment the military issued. Ezekiel met him in June. The recruits were being issued sidearms. Officers got pistols as primary weapons. Enlisted men got them as backups, just in case the rifle failed. Crow handed Ezekiel an M1911, 45 caliber, semi-automatic. The pistol was heavy, solid. The grip was checkered wood. The finish was blued steel. "You know how to use this?" Crow asked. "No, sir. It's not a revolver, it's automatic, recoil operated. You fire one round, the gun cycles the next. 7 rounds in the magazine, 1 in the chamber, 8 total." Crow showed him how to load it, how to clear it, how to field strip it. The pistol came apart in 6 pieces: slide, barrel, recoil spring, frame, magazine, bushing. "Man who designed this was a genius," Crow said. Name was Samuel Sterling, from Utah. Army asked for a pistol that wouldn't fail. Sterling gave them one that can't. "Why can't it fail?" Ezekiel asked. "Because it's simple, no gas system, no complicated linkages, just a barrel and a slide and a spring. The recoil does the work. The spring resets it. Simple machines don't break." Ezekiel held the pistol, felt the weight, the balance. "Why 45 caliber?" he asked. "Because 38 didn't work." Crow reached into a drawer, pulled out a folder. Inside were photographs, black and white, grainy. They showed bodies, American soldiers, throats cut, empty revolvers in their hands. Philippines, 1902, Moro warriors wearing armor, hopped up on drugs. American soldiers shot them 6 times center mass with 38 revolvers. Moros kept coming. Soldiers died. Ezekiel stared at the photographs. One of the soldiers looked young, maybe 24. His eyes were still open. "Army tested every caliber," Crow said. 32, 38, 41, 44, 45. Only 45 had the kinetic energy to stop a man immediately. So Sterling designed a pistol around 45. Simple, reliable, certain. When did he design it? 1905. 3 years after the Philippines failures. Army adopted it in 1911. Been issuing it ever since. Ezekiel did the math. 1902, the year he started hunting turkeys. The year American soldiers died because their weapons failed. The year the Army started searching for something better. 16 years, Ezekiel said. "What's that?" Crow asked. 1902 to now, 16 years. Same amount of time I've been shooting. Crow looked at him. "You shoot much, recruit." "Turkeys, 847 of them." Crow smiled. "Then you'll understand this pistol. It does one thing, it does it right. Every time. That's all Sterling wanted. That's all you need." July 1917. Embarkation. The 82nd Division shipped to France. 14,000 men. Most of them had never left their home states. Most of them had never seen the ocean. They boarded troop ships in New York. The Atlantic crossing took 12 days. Ezekiel shared a bunk with a man named Caleb Oakes, 32 years old, from Kentucky, coal miner before the war. Caleb's hands were scarred from pickaxe work. His lungs rattled when he breathed. Black lung, early stages. He'd enlisted because mining was killing him slowly and war might kill him quickly. At least war paid better. "You married?" Caleb asked. "No," Ezekiel said. "Sweetheart back home. Sister Prudy, she's a teacher." "That's good. Smart girl." "She is." "What about you? What did you do before this?" "Hunted, farmed, paid my father's debts." "You any good at hunting?" "Good enough." They reached France in late July. The 82nd Division was assigned to the Lorraine sector, quiet front, training ground for new units. The division spent August learning trench warfare, how to stand watch, how to repair wire, how to survive artillery. Ezekiel learned that war was mostly waiting, waiting for orders, waiting for rations, waiting for something to happen. The shooting was rare, brief, terrifying. In September, the division moved north. The Meuse-Argonne offensive was being planned, the largest American operation of the war, 1,400,000 men. The goal: break the German defensive line, end the war before Christmas. Ezekiel's unit, the 328th Infantry Regiment, was assigned to the first wave. They would attack on September 26th. The objective? A series of hills designated by number. Hill 180, Hill 223, Hill 240. The Germans held all of them. Lieutenant Marcus Ashford, the marksmanship instructor from Camp Gordon, was now their platoon leader. He'd been promoted. He wore gold bars on his collar. He carried a Colt 1911 on his hip. The night before the attack, Ashford gathered the platoon. Tomorrow we advance. You will follow doctrine. You will engage targets front to back. Nearest threat first. This is not negotiable. This is how we survive. Any questions? Caleb leaned close to Ezekiel, whispered, "Your turkey method gonna work on Germans." "Don't know," Ezekiel whispered back. "Never shot a German." "Guess we'll find out." September 26, 1918. 5:30 a.m. The Meuse-Argonne offensive begins. Artillery, 2,700 guns firing simultaneously. The sound was physical. It pushed air. It rattled teeth. The barrage lasted 3 hours. The German trenches disappeared under high explosive. The earth churned, trees splintered, the landscape transformed. At 8:30 a.m., the infantry advanced. Ezekiel climbed out of the trench, walked forward. The ground was soft from rain and shell impacts. His boots sank. Every step required effort. The German artillery answered. Shells fell. Men dropped. Ezekiel kept walking. Ashford was 10 yards ahead. The platoon followed. 17 men total. They reached the first German trench at 9:15 a.m. It was empty, abandoned. The Germans had fallen back to secondary positions. Ashford pushed forward. Doctrine said, maintain momentum, keep advancing, don't let the enemy regroup. By 11 a.m. they'd gained 800 yards. By noon they were in the forest, thick timber, limited visibility, the kind of terrain where ambushes happened. Ashford held up a hand. The platoon stopped. He pointed north. Smoke, the sound of machine guns. German positions. We advance, Ashford said. Standard assault. I'll lead, you follow. Engage front to back. Clear. Caleb looked at Ezekiel. Neither of them spoke. They moved forward. 50 yards, 100. The forest opened into a clearing. On the far side, 300 yards away, a ridgeline. On the ridgeline, German machine gun positions. Ezekiel could see the muzzle flashes. Ashford started across the clearing. The platoon followed. The machine guns opened up. The first burst cut down 4 men. They fell without sound. Ashford dove for cover. The platoon scattered. Ezekiel hit the dirt behind a fallen log. Caleb landed beside him. We can't cross that, Caleb said. Ashford was screaming. Advance, follow me. Another burst. Ashford jerked, stumbled, fell. The machine gun had found him, throat shot. He was dead before he stopped moving. The platoon was pinned. 11 men left. 3 machine guns firing. Standard doctrine said, withdraw, regroup, call for artillery support. Ezekiel looked at the ridgeline, looked at the machine gun positions. He could see the gunners. Silhouettes, 300 yards, maybe less. He'd shot turkeys at longer range. He pulled his Springfield from his back, settled into position, controlled his breathing, found the rearmost machine gun position, the one the others couldn't see. He aimed, exhaled, squeezed. The rifle cracked. The rear gunner dropped. The other 2 guns kept firing. They didn't notice. Ezekiel reloaded, aimed at the second position, fired. Another gunner down. Now the third position noticed. They swung their gun toward Ezekiel's position. Too late, he fired first. The third gunner fell. Silence. The machine gun stopped. Caleb stared at Ezekiel. 3 shots, 3 hits, 300 yards. 280, Ezekiel said. I counted the paces. How turkey math, rear to front. They don't see each other fall. From the ridgeline voices, German voices, shouting, movement, Ezekiel counted. At least 30 soldiers, maybe more. They were organizing, preparing for a counterattack. Caleb checked his rifle. We need to pull back. No, Ezekiel said. We need to hold. Why? Because if they retake this position, we'll have to take it again tomorrow. More men will die. Ashford's dead. You're in command now. What are your orders? Ezekiel thought about Tennessee, about Prudy, about the $50 he'd sent home, about the debt, about the way mathematics worked when failure meant hunger. We hold, he said, no matter what comes. From the ridgeline, 30 German soldiers began to advance, among them a lieutenant named Wilhelm Hofmeister, 34 years old, veteran of Verdun and the Somme. He'd seen what American riflemen could do. He knew they were dangerous at distance, so he ordered a bayonet charge. Argonne Forest, October 8, 1918, 15:15 p.m. 30 German soldiers descended from the ridgeline. They moved in 2 groups. The first group had 24 infantrymen, standard rifles, bayonets fixed. They came straight down the slope through the timber. No cover, speed over safety. They were counting on numbers. The second group, 6 soldiers led by Lieutenant Wilhelm Hofmeister. They angled left. Flanking movement. Professional. Hofmeister had fought at Verdun. He'd survived the Somme. He knew how to kill Americans. Ezekiel watched them come. He was still behind the fallen log. Caleb was beside him. 9 other soldiers scattered in the brush. 11 men total. 30 Germans advancing. The mathematics were clear. "We can't hold this," Caleb said. Ezekiel didn't answer. He was counting his ammunition. The Springfield held 5 rounds. He had 2 full clips in his cartridge belt. 15 rounds total. The M1911 on his hip held 7 rounds in the magazine, 1 in the chamber. 8 rounds, 23 rounds, 30 targets. The numbers didn't work, unless he made them work. "I need you to fire on my signal," Ezekiel said. "Not before. When I shoot, you shoot. Make noise, make them think we're more than 11. "What are you going to do?" "Same thing I always do. Shoot rear to front." The Germans were 200 yards out, coming fast. Ezekiel settled the Springfield against his shoulder. Found the rearmost man in the main group, a soldier with a beard, older than the others, maybe 30. He was carrying a WWII 98, standard German rifle, 5-round magazine. Ezekiel aimed 2 inches above the man's head. 200 yards meant 6 inches of bullet drop. Light wind from the left meant 3 inches of drift. He compensated, breathed out, held, squeezed. The rifle bucked. The sound rolled through the forest. The bearded German dropped. The others didn't see. They were focused forward, running, yelling. Ezekiel worked the bolt, ejected the spent cartridge, chambered a new round. The bolt action was smooth. He'd cleaned the rifle that morning. Oil on the rails. The mechanism cycled without friction. He found the next rear target, a young soldier, no beard, thin face. The boy was struggling to keep pace. His equipment was heavy. He was falling behind the others. Ezekiel aimed, fired. The boy fell. Still, the others didn't notice. 3rd shot, 4th, 5th. The Springfield's magazine was empty. 5 Germans down. The remaining 19 were still advancing. 150 yards now. They'd seen the muzzle flashes. They knew where Ezekiel was, but they didn't know their rear was collapsing. Ezekiel reloaded. His hands were fast. Muscle memory from 14 years of hunting. Pull the bolt back, lock it open. Retrieve a full stripper clip from the belt. Position it on the receiver. Press the rounds down with his thumb. 5 cartridges slide into the internal magazine. Strip the clip away. Release the bolt. It chambers the top round with a metallic snap. 3 seconds, start to finish. He resumed firing. 6th shot, 7th, 8th. 3 more Germans down. The formation was thinning from the back. The front runners were starting to notice. They looked behind, saw bodies. Confusion spread. But Hofmeister's flanking group was still coming. They were separated from the main force, moving through heavier brush. Ezekiel couldn't see them clearly. Couldn't get clean shots. The main group was 100 yards out. Caleb and the other Americans opened fire. The sound was chaotic. Overlapping cracks. The Germans dove for cover. They started shooting back. Bullets tore through leaves, splintered bark. The forest became noise. Ezekiel kept working. 9th shot, 10th, 11th. Germans were falling, some from Ezekiel's rifle, some from Caleb's, some from the other Americans. The numbers were dropping. 30 became 25, and 25 became 20. Then the main group broke. They retreated, ran back toward the ridgeline. 15 men fleeing, 15 men who'd had enough. Silence. Briefly, then movement from the left. Hofmeister's flanking group, 6 men, they'd circled wide. They were 40 yards from Ezekiel's position. Bayonets fixed. They weren't retreating, they were charging. Pause. Tactical assessment. Ezekiel's Springfield was empty. The second magazine spent. He had 1 more clip, 5 rounds, 6 Germans charging. The mathematics almost worked, except they were close. 40 yards, moving fast. A man can cover 40 yards in 6 seconds if he's running hard, if he's motivated. These men were motivated. They'd watched their comrades die. They wanted revenge. Ezekiel's Springfield was empty. The second magazine spent. He had 1 more clip, 5 rounds, 6 Germans charging. The mathematics didn't work, not with the rifle. He dropped the Springfield. No time to reload. They were 40 yards away, 35, running hard. Bayonets fixed. Ezekiel drew the M1911 from his hip. The pistol came up smooth. The weight was familiar. 39 ounces, 7 rounds in the magazine, 1 in the chamber, 8 total. 6 Germans charging, 7 rounds available. The mathematics worked. Barely. They were 30 yards out. Ezekiel could see their faces now. The rear man was Hoffmeister, older, professional, leading from behind. The front man was young, blonde hair, blue eyes, terror and rage in equal measure. Ezekiel aimed at Hoffmeister, the rear man, the one the others couldn't see. He squeezed the trigger. The pistol roared, louder than the rifle. The .45 caliber round was subsonic, but the report was sharp. The recoil pushed the muzzle up. Ezekiel fought it down, kept the sights on target. Hoffmeister fell, shot through the left shoulder. Not dead, wounded. He hit the ground hard, 25 yards behind the others. They didn't see him fall. They kept charging. 5 left, 20 yards. Ezekiel shifted his aim. Second to rear man, older soldier, beard. The pistol barked. The man dropped. The others didn't notice. Focused forward, committed. 4 left, 15 yards. Third shot, fourth, fifth. The Germans were falling backward on, rear to front. The same mathematics as turkeys. The same principle. By the time the front 2 men realized their squad was gone, they were 10 yards from Ezekiel's position. Too close to retreat. Too far to reach him before he shot. The blonde soldier was closest. 8 yards. 6. His bayonet was extended. The blade was 14 inches of steel, sharp enough to pierce ribs, to find heart, to end things. Ezekiel aimed, center mass, the way the army taught, the way Sergeant Ashford had drilled into them at Camp Gordon. 6th shot. The blonde soldier stumbled, kept coming. 4 yards. The boy's momentum carried him forward. He wouldn't stop, couldn't stop. 7th shot. The soldier fell to his knees, looked up. His eyes met Ezekiel's. The boy tried to speak. Blood came instead of words. He pitched forward, face down in the mud. The 6th German, the last one, 10 yards away. He saw the others fall, saw Ezekiel's pistol, still raised, still aimed. The slide locked back, empty. The German stopped running, dropped his rifle, raised his hands. Silence. Ezekiel stood. The M1911 was still raised, still aimed at where the soldier had been. His hands were shaking. The pistol trembled. His breath came in gasps. Behind him, Caleb was calling his name. Zeke, Zeke, you hit. Ezekiel didn't answer. He was staring at the blonde boy, the one who'd tried to speak. He couldn't have been more than 18, maybe 17. A conscript, a kid following orders. The boy's blood was spreading through the mud, mixing with rainwater, turning the ground dark. Then more movement from the brush to the left. 3 more Germans. They'd been separated from Hoffmeister's flanking group during the charge. Now they emerged from cover, weapons raised, but not firing. They were looking at their lieutenant. Hoffmeister was on the ground, clutching his shoulder, bleeding, conscious. Ezekiel shifted his aim. 4 targets total, the survivor from the charge, 3 more from the brush. But the M1911 slide was locked back. Empty. The mathematics worked, but his hands were still shaking. The pistol was unsteady. One of the Germans shouted, "Amerikaner, halt!" Ezekiel didn't speak German, but the tone was clear. A command. Stop, don't shoot. The German soldier lowered his rifle. Slowly, deliberately. He raised his hands. The other 3 did the same. Surrender. Ezekiel kept the pistol aimed. His finger was on the trigger. Half a pound of pressure. That's all it would take. 4 men, 4 shots. They were 15 yards away. Easy range, clean kills. But they weren't charging. They weren't fighting. They were surrendering. Hoffmeister spoke. His English was accented but clear. "Lower your weapon, American. We yield." Ezekiel didn't lower the pistol. "Tell your men to drop their rifles." Hoffmeister gave the order in German. The 4 soldiers complied. Their rifles hit the ground. Slowly, carefully. No sudden movements. "You are alone?" Hoffmeister asked. "No." "How many enough?" Hoffmeister smiled. Blood on his teeth. "You lie. I counted your shots. 1 rifle, 1 pistol. Maybe 2 rifles. You are not enough, but you fight like enough." Caleb moved up beside Ezekiel. His rifle was aimed at the Germans. "What do we do with them?" "Prisoners," Ezekiel said. "We can't guard prisoners. We're 11 men. Then we'll guard them anyway." More Germans emerged from the forest. 10, 15, 20. They came slowly. Hands raised. Weapons dropped. Hoffmeister was giving orders, shouting in German. His men obeyed. Caleb counted. Jesus Christ. There's got to be 40 of them. More kept coming. 50, 60. They were climbing down from the ridge line, emerging from foxholes, from defensive positions. All of them surrendering. All of them following Hoffmeister's orders. Ezekiel kept the M1911 aimed, but his arm was tired. The pistol was getting heavy. His hands were still shaking. Caleb was beside him. Zeke, this doesn't make sense. They outnumber us. I know. They could rush us. We can't shoot them all. I know. So why are they surrendering? Hoffmeister answered. He'd pulled himself to a sitting position. His left arm hung useless. His right hand was pressed against the wound. Because your corporal shoots like God. We watched him kill our machine gunners. 3 shots, 300 meters. Each shot perfect. We watched him kill our charging soldiers. Rear to front, backwards, impossible. But he did it. The lieutenant paused, coughed, blood flecked his lips. A man who shoots like that will kill us all if we fight. So we do not fight. We surrender. We live. The Germans kept coming. 70, 80, 90. Caleb was staring. How many are there? One of the German soldiers spoke. Broken English. 132. We are 132. Ezekiel finally lowered the pistol. The slide was locked back. The magazine was empty. He'd fired 7 rounds at the flanking group. 6 men charging, 7 shots fired. The mathematics of survival, 132 Germans, 11 Americans. The ratio was 12-1. If they wanted to fight, they could. They would win. Easily. But they weren't fighting. They were standing in a loose group, hands raised, waiting. Hoffmeister spoke again. You are Jaeger. Hunter. Yes. Farmer, Ezekiel said. No. You are warrior. I have fought many battles. Verdun. Somme. Passchendaele. I have seen many soldiers. You are not soldier. You are something else. Something better. Ezekiel didn't respond. He was looking at the bodies, the Germans he'd killed. 15, maybe more. He'd stopped counting. Among them, the blond boy, the one who'd tried to speak. He was still face down in the mud. 18 years old, maybe less. Pause, the weight settles. Caleb organized the prisoners. He had them sit in rows, hands on their heads. The other American soldiers stood guard, rifles ready, nervous. 132 prisoners, 11 guards. The mathematics were terrifying. Ezekiel walked among the German dead. He counted them. 17 bodies, 17 men who'd been alive 30 minutes ago. Now they were meat and bone and cooling blood. He found the blond boy, knelt beside him. The boy's eyes were still open, staring at nothing. Ezekiel reached out, closed them. It felt wrong to leave them open. 2 bullet holes, one in the chest, one in the stomach, both from Ezekiel's M1911, both kill shots. But the boy had kept coming, had tried to reach Ezekiel with the bayonet, had tried to do his duty. Ezekiel's hands were shaking again. Not from fear, from something else, something he didn't have a name for. He stood, walked back to where Caleb was standing. We need to move these prisoners to the rear, Caleb said. Get them to command. Let someone else deal with them. How far to the rear? 3 miles, maybe 4. We can't march them that far, not with 11 men. We don't have a choice. Ezekiel looked at the prisoners. They were sitting quietly, waiting. Some of them were young, teenagers, conscripts. Some were older, veterans, men like Hoffmeister who had seen too much war. None of them looked like they wanted to fight anymore. Get them up, Ezekiel said. We'll march them back, single file. Anyone runs, we shoot. Make sure they understand that. Caleb translated. His German was poor but functional. The prisoners nodded. They understood. The march took 3 hours. Single file, 132 Germans, 11 Americans. They walked through the forest, through the mud, past the trenches, past the artillery craters. They reached American lines at 4 p.m. The sentries saw them coming. 132 prisoners, 11 guards. The sentries called for an officer. A captain arrived. Name was Robert Thornton, 40 years old, regular army. He looked at the prisoners, looked at Ezekiel. Who's in command here? I am, sir, Ezekiel said, Corporal Bridger. Where's your lieutenant? Dead, sir, throat wound. Your sergeant? Also dead, sir. Thornton counted the prisoners. How many? 132, sir. How many in your unit? 11, sir. Thornton was quiet. Then you took 132 prisoners with 11 men. Yes, sir. How about? Ezekiel didn't know how to answer that. He thought about the Springfield, about the M1911, about rear to front, about 14 years hunting turkeys, about Prudy and the debt, and the mathematics of necessity. I shot the ones who wouldn't surrender, sir. The rest decided the surrender was better. Thornton looked at Caleb. Is that true? Yes, sir, Caleb said. Armando, sir. I watched him do it, never seen anything like it. How many did he shoot? 17, sir, maybe more. I stopped counting. Thornton studied Ezekiel. Reload your weapon, Corporal. You're going to need it. For what, sir? Command is going to want to talk to you. They're going to ask questions. A lot of questions. 11 men don't take 132 prisoners without someone asking how. Hoffmeister was carried to the medical tent. The shoulder wound wasn't fatal, but it needed treatment. Before they took him away, he spoke to Ezekiel one last time. Amerikaner, Corporal. Ezekiel turned. You spared us. You could have killed all 132. Your weapon still had bullets, but you chose mercy. Why, my? Ezekiel thought about the question. He thought about the blond boy, about the eyes that had tried to speak, about Prudy back in Tennessee, about what war was supposed to be, and what it actually was. Because you surrendered, Ezekiel said. Men who surrender shouldn't die. Hoffmeister nodded. In Germany, we have a word, Ehre, honor. You have it. Remember that. When the nightmares come, remember you had honor. They took Hoffmeister away. Ezekiel stood alone. His hands were still shaking. The M1911 was still holstered on his hip, empty. He hadn't reloaded it, hadn't cleaned it, hadn't done anything except think about the blond boy. Caleb walked up, handed him a canteen. Ezekiel drank. Water. Cold. It didn't stop the shaking. You did good today, Caleb said. 17 men are dead. 17 Germans, enemy soldiers, men who would have killed us if you hadn't killed them first. The last one was just a kid, couldn't have been 18. Old enough to carry a rifle, old enough to try to kill you. Doesn't make it easier. Caleb was quiet. Then, it's not supposed to be easy. The day it gets easy is the day you stop being human. Ezekiel nodded, he understood. But understanding didn't stop the shaking. Didn't stop the image of the blond boy's eyes. Didn't stop the feeling that something had broken inside him. Something that couldn't be fixed. He checked the M1911, ejected the magazine. It was empty. 7 rounds fired. 7 rounds that had ended lives or changed them. He reloaded. Fresh magazine. Chambered around. The pistol was ready again. But Ezekiel wasn't sure he was. October 10th, 1918. Division headquarters. 7 miles behind the front. Colonel Harrison Blake sat behind a field desk. He was 52. Gray hair. West Point class of 1889. 30 years in the Army. He'd fought in Cuba, the Philippines. He'd seen what war did to men. He'd also seen what men did in war. Ezekiel stood at attention. Caleb stood beside him. They'd been ordered to report at 0800. They'd marched through the night. Neither had slept. Corporal Bridger, Ashford said, tell me what happened on October 8th. Ezekiel recounted the events. The machine gun nests, Lieutenant Marcus Ashford's death, the decision to hold position, the German charge, the surrender. You violated direct orders, the colonel said. Lieutenant Ashford ordered a frontal assault, sir. The assault failed. He died in the first 10 seconds. After that, I had no orders. You had doctrine. Doctrine states when an officer falls, you withdraw. Regroup. Call for support. If we withdrew, sir, the Germans would have retaken the position. We would have had to assault it again. More men would have died. That's not your decision to make, Corporal. You're not an officer. You're not trained in tactics. Ezekiel said nothing. Furthermore, the colonel continued, you used a pistol instead of your rifle. Army regulations state the M1911 is a secondary weapon, for emergencies only, not for primary engagement. My rifle jammed, sir. Spent cartridge stuck in the ejection port. The Germans were 10 yards away. The pistol was all I had. Ashford leaned back. 11 men, 132 prisoners. Those are the numbers in your report. Do you stand by them? Yes, sir. Do you have any proof? Private Oakes was there, sir. He witnessed everything. The colonel looked at Caleb. Is the corporal's account accurate? Yes, sir, Caleb said. Every word. How many Germans did he kill? 17, sir, that I counted. Could have been more. And he took the rest prisoner with 11 men. He didn't take them prisoner, sir. They surrendered. The German lieutenant ordered it. They respected Corporal Bridger's marksmanship. Thought he'd kill them all if they fought. Ashford was quiet. He opened a folder. Inside were photographs, taken at the battle site the day after. Black and white, grainy. They showed bodies, German soldiers, lying in the mud, 17 of them. A forensics team investigated the site, Blake said. They recovered shell casings, 23 total, 16 Springfield 30-06, 745 caliber from your M1911, all concentrated in a 40-yard radius. He slid one photograph across the desk. It showed 6 German bodies, lying in a line, evenly spaced, rear to front. The team found this formation unusual, Ashford said. The bodies fall in reverse order, back to front, as if someone shot them from rear to front, deliberately. The team's conclusion, either an act of tactical genius or an impossible coincidence. Not impossible, sir, Ezekiel said. Just turkey math. Explain. Wild turkeys travel in flocks. If you shoot the front bird, the others scatter. If you shoot the rear bird, the others don't notice. You can take multiple shots before they realize the threat. Same principle applies to soldiers in formation. Where did you learn this? Tennessee, sir. I hunted turkeys for 14 years. 847 birds. 96% success rate. Ashford studied him. The German lieutenant, Hofmeister. He's being held as a prisoner of war. We interrogated him. He said you deserve a medal. Said you fought with honor. Said you spared his men when you could have killed them. They surrendered, sir. I don't shoot surrendering men. He also said you're the finest marksman he's encountered in 4 years of war. He served at Verdun, the Somme. He's seen the best France and Britain have to offer. He says you're better. Ezekiel didn't respond. Compliments from enemy officers felt wrong. Command is recommending you for the Distinguished Service Cross, Ashford said. Second highest decoration, extraordinary heroism in combat. Do you accept no subsidium? No. I did my job, sir, that's all. Shooting Germans doesn't make me a hero. It makes me a soldier doing what soldiers do. Ashford leaned forward. Corporal, do you understand what you accomplished at 11 men? 132 prisoners, 17 enemy killed, 0 American casualties after Lieutenant Ashford's death. This is the kind of action that changes battles. It didn't change anything, sir. The war's still going. Men are still dying. The war will end. Maybe next month, maybe next year. But your actions will be studied, taught. Men will learn from what you did. That's legacy. I don't want legacy, sir. I want to go home. November 11th, 1918. Armistice. The war ended at 11 a.m. The guns stopped. The silence was louder than the artillery had been. Men stood in trenches waiting for the sound to resume. It didn't. Ezekiel was in a field hospital when he heard the news. He'd been wounded 3 days earlier. Shrapnel from a German artillery shell. Minor wounds, left arm, left leg. Nothing serious. He'd live. Caleb visited him, brought news from the company. 6 men dead in the final week. 12 wounded. The mathematics of war continuing until the last possible second. We're going home, Caleb said. When couple months, armies got to process everyone, discharge papers, transportation, but we're done fighting. Ezekiel nodded. He felt nothing. No relief, no joy, just emptiness. Like something had been carved out of his chest and nothing had filled the space. You still having the dreams? Caleb asked. Ezekiel had been having nightmares since October 8th. Every night. The same dream. The blond German boy, face down in the mud, trying to speak. Blood instead of words. The boy's eyes. Blue. Terrified. Dead. Yeah, Ezekiel said. Every night. They'll stop eventually. You have them too. Everyone does. We just don't talk about it. Caleb handed him a package, wrapped in brown paper. Inside was the Distinguished Service Cross. Bronze. Suspended from a ribbon. Red with white and blue stripes. Command sent this, Caleb said. You refused it. Colonel Blake overruled your refusal. Said heroes don't get to decide they're not heroes. Other people decide that. Ezekiel held the medal. It was heavier than it looked. He thought about the blond boy, about the 17 Germans, about the mathematics of killing. This isn't for heroism, Ezekiel said. This is for survival. I survived, they didn't, that's all. Keep it anyway, your sister will want to see it. Ezekiel put the medal back in the box, closed it. I'm not showing this to Prudy. She doesn't need to know what I did. What are you going to tell her? That I was a soldier, that I came home, nothing else. December 1918, Hancock County, Tennessee. Ezekiel returned to the farm 3 days before Christmas. The train dropped him in Knoxville. He walked the 40 miles to Sneedville. His duffel bag weighed 30 pounds. His left leg still hurt from the shrapnel. He didn't care. Prudy met him at the property line. She was 24 now, engaged to Henry Oakes. The wedding was planned for spring. She'd been teaching at the Sneedville school for 2 years. She'd saved most of her salary. The debt was paid, all of it, $340. Gone. She hugged him. He hugged back. She felt smaller than he remembered, or maybe he'd gotten bigger. War does that, adds weight that isn't muscle. "You're hurt," she said. She'd noticed the limp. "It's nothing. Healed already." "Did you get my letters?" "All of them." "You didn't write much." "Nothing to say." She looked at him, really looked. "You're different." "I'm older." "No, something else." Ezekiel didn't respond. He couldn't explain what war had taken. Couldn't describe the blonde boy's eyes. Couldn't tell her about the nightmares. Couldn't burden her with the weight he carried. "Come inside," she said. "Pa's been waiting." Obadiah was at the kitchen table, 63 years old now. His left hand still didn't work right from the plow accident, but he was alive, still farming, still fighting the land for survival. "You made it," Obadiah said. "I did." "Anyone else make it back?" "Some, not all." They ate dinner, rabbit stew. Prudy had made it. The rabbit was one Ezekiel had taught her to hunt 4 years ago. She'd remembered the lesson. After dinner, Obadiah asked the question, "What was it like?" "Loud," Ezekiel said. "Muddy, cold." "Did you have to shoot anyone?" "I was a soldier, Pa. That's what soldiers do." "How many?" Ezekiel thought about lying, thought about saying he didn't know, thought about protecting his father from the truth. But Obadiah had taught him that truth was the only currency worth keeping. 17 that I'm sure of. Maybe more. Prudy stopped clearing dishes, stood still. Her hands gripped a plate. Obadiah nodded. "That's a lot of weight to carry." "I'll manage." "The nightmares started yet?" "How'd you know?" "Every man who's killed another man has nightmares. It's the cost. You pay it every night for the rest of your life." 1920. Pause. The years pass. 1921, 1922, 1920. Prudy married Henry Oakes in the spring. Ezekiel walked her down the aisle. The debt that had driven him to hunt turkeys for 14 years was gone. The debt that had driven him to France was paid. Prudy taught school for 43 years. She never asked her brother about the war. He never told her. 1923, 1922, 1920. Ezekiel married Temperance Wolfe. Everyone called her Tempy. She was 24, a school teacher like Prudy. She'd grown up in Sneedville. She'd known Ezekiel before the war. She married the man who came back, the quiet one, the one who woke up screaming some nights. 1923. She never asked about the war. He never told her. 1924, 1925, 1922. Their son was born, Jedediah. 1926, named after Ezekiel's grandfather. The boy was healthy, strong. He had his mother's eyes, his father's hands. Ezekiel taught him to hunt, started when the boy was 6, taught him about turkeys, about rear to front, about the mathematics of necessity, about making every shot count. 1935. News reached Tennessee that Samuel Sterling had died. Heart attack. Belgium, 71 years old. The newspaper mentioned he was a firearms designer, mentioned the M1911 pistol, mentioned his legacy. Ezekiel read the obituary. That night he went to the barn, opened an old trunk. Inside was his service uniform, his discharge papers, the Distinguished Service Cross he'd never worn, and the M1911. He held the pistol. It was heavier than he remembered. Or maybe his hands were weaker. He was 47 now, nearly the age Sterling had been when he designed this weapon. Ezekiel thought about the blonde German boy, about the 8 seconds that had defined his life, about the man who designed the tool that had saved him and killed others. "You never knew," Ezekiel whispered to the absent designer. "Never knew your pistol kept me alive. Never knew what it cost." He put the pistol back in the trunk, locked it. Didn't touch it again for 7 years. 1942, World War II. Jedediah was 20. He enlisted. The recruiting officer asked if he could shoot. Jedediah said yes, said his father had taught him, said he'd been hunting since he was 6. The Army issued him a rifle, an M1, Garand, semi-automatic, 8-round clip, modern, reliable. They also issued him a sidearm, M1911, 45 caliber, same model his father had carried. Before Jedediah shipped out, Ezekiel took him to the barn, opened the trunk, showed him the M1911 from 1918. This is the pistol I carried, Ezekiel said. Same model they're giving you. Does it still work? Should. Haven't fired it in 24 years, but Sterling designed it to last. Who's Sterling? The man who made it. He died in 1935. Never knew his pistol saved my life. Jedediah held his father's pistol, held his own. They were identical. Same weight, same balance, same certainty. What happened to you over there? Jedediah asked. In France. You never talk about it. Ezekiel was quiet. Then, I did what needed doing, came home. That's all. Ma says you have nightmares every October. I do. About what? About a boy I killed. German kid. Couldn't have been 18. He tried to speak before he died. I think about what he might have said. Does it get easier? No, you just get used to carrying it. Jedediah shipped out 2 weeks later. Landed in North Africa, then Sicily, then France. He carried the M1911 through all of it. The pistol never jammed, never failed, never let him down. He came home in 1945. 3 years of war. He'd fired the pistol twice, both times at close range. Both times it worked. Both times he survived. He had nightmares too, different from his father's, but the same weight, the same call. He never talked about them. 1968, Ezekiel's death. He died in his sleep. Heart attack. 80 years old. Tempe found him in the morning. He looked peaceful. More peaceful than he'd ever looked in life. The funeral was small. Family, a few friends. The pastor from the Baptist church. Prudy was there. 74 years old now. White hair. Her husband Henry had died 3 years earlier. She sat in the front row beside Tempe. The two women who'd known Ezekiel longest, neither had known the whole truth. The obituary in the Sneedville newspaper was 4 sentences long. Ezekiel Bridger 80 died peacefully at his home. He served in World War I with the 82nd Division. He survived the Battle of the Argonne. He is survived by his wife Temperance, his son Jedediah, and 3 grandchildren. Nothing about 132 prisoners. Nothing about 17 kills. Nothing about the Distinguished Service Cross. Nothing about the nightmares that had plagued him for 50 years. After the funeral, Jedediah was cleaning out his father's belongings. He found the trunk in the barn. Locked. He forced it open. Inside the uniform, the discharge papers. The DSC medal still in its box, never worn. The M1911 cleaned and oiled, wrapped in cloth. And an envelope, yellowed with age. Postmark 1953. From Germany. Jedediah opened the envelope. Inside was a letter, written in English. Careful handwriting. The ink had faded, but the words were clear. The letter, dated April 12, 1953. Herr Corporal Bridger, I do not know if this letter will reach you. I do not know if you remember me. I am Wilhelm Hofmeister, Lieutenant, German Army. We met October 8, 1918. Argonne Forest, you shot me. I surrendered to you. I write this because I am dying, cancer. The doctors say 6 months, perhaps less. Before I die, I must tell you something. After the war, I returned to Germany. I could not return to the army. My shoulder never healed properly. I could not fire a rifle. So I became a teacher. Mathematics. I taught in a school in Munich. For 34 years, I have taught children. 1,847 students. I have taught them numbers, equations. But more than that, I have taught them that life has value, that surrender is not cowardice, that mercy is strength. I learned this from you. On October 8, 1918, you could have killed 132 men. Your weapon still had bullets. Your men were armed. We were defeated. We were vulnerable. You could have killed us all, and no one would have questioned it. We were the enemy. But you did not. You accepted our surrender. You showed mercy. You chose life over death. I have thought about this every day for 35 years. I have tried to understand why an American corporal would spare German soldiers. The answer, I believe, is honor. You had era, honor. You fought with precision. You killed only those who would not surrender. You spared those who would. This is why I became a teacher, to honor your mercy, to teach children that even in war humanity exists, that even enemies can show grace. My grandson Friedrich is 17 now. He speaks English. He wants to immigrate to America. He says your country offers opportunities Germany cannot. I support this. I support this because 35 years ago, an American corporal gave me a second chance at life. I want my grandson to have that same chance. Tell him if you see Hein that his grandfather was saved by a Tennessee farmer who shot like God and showed mercy like a saint. Thank you, Corporal Bridger. Thank you for choosing 6 bullets instead of 132. Thank you for the nightmares you carry so that I could live. Thank you for the cost you paid so that I could teach. I die with gratitude. I hope you live with peace. Wilhelm Hofmeister, Munich, Germany, April 12, 1953. Jedediah read the letter 3 times. Then he called his daughter. Clementine. Everyone called her Clem. She was 28, a historian. She'd studied World War I. She'd never known her grandfather had fought in it. He showed her the letter, showed her the medal, showed her the pistol. He never told us, Clem said. He never told anyone, Jedediah said. Why not? Because he thought it wasn't worth telling. 17 men dead, 132 prisoners. Nightmares every October for 50 years. He didn't see heroism, he saw cost. Clem held the M18911. This is the pistol. Same model, that's his from 1918. Mine from 1942 is in my safe. Same design, 34 years apart. Still works. Did you ever fire it? Twice. North Africa. Both times it saved me. Both times I thought about Dad, about what he'd carried, about what it cost him to come home. Clem was quiet. Then, we should donate this, the pistol, the medal, the letter, to a museum, so people know. Dad wouldn't have wanted that. He wanted to be forgotten. Maybe, but Hofmeister didn't. He wanted someone to remember that mercy happened. Even in war, even in the worst moments, someone chose mercy. 2006, forensic investigation. A team of military historians and archaeologists excavated the Argonne Forest battle site. They were documenting World War I positions, mapping trenches, recovering artifacts. They found shell casings, 23 of them, 45 caliber, clustered in a 40-yard radius. The casings matched M1911 specifications. The team ran ballistic analysis. All 23 came from the same weapon. They also found German identification tags, 17 of them, names, units, dates of death, all October 8, 1918. The team cross-referenced with American military records, found Corporal Ezekiel Bridger's after-action report, found the forensic photographs from 1918, found the medal citation for the Distinguished Service Cross. The numbers matched, exactly. 23 shots, 17 confirmed kills, 132 prisoners, 11 American soldiers. The team published their findings. Academic journal, limited circulation. The story reached a few historians, a few military analysts, then it faded, again, except in one place. Fort Benning, Georgia, the Army Ranger School. In a classroom where small unit tactics were taught, an instructor named Captain Michael Torres stood before 40 candidates. He held up a photograph. Grainy, black and white, 6 German bodies, lying in a line, rear to front. This is the Bridger reversal, Torres said. October 8, 1918. Corporal Ezekiel Bridger, 11 men, 132 prisoners, 17 enemy killed, 0 American casualties. How? He pointed at the photograph. Rear to front engagement. He shot the targets his enemy couldn't see fall. They kept advancing into a killing zone without realizing their formation was collapsing from behind. When you engage multiple targets in linear formation, consider this. The enemy furthest from you is the one his comrades can't see. Doctrine says front to back. Bridger proved rear to front works when conditions allow. The technique was taught, not widely, not officially, but it was taught in Ranger School, in Special Forces qualification courses, in sniper schools. The name changed over the years. Sometimes they called it reverse order engagement, sometimes suppressive patience. Sometimes they didn't call it anything at all. But the principle remained. The mathematics Ezekiel learned hunting turkeys to feed his sister became doctrine for men hunting enemies to save their brothers. Ezekiel Bridger remained forgotten, by design, by choice, by the weight of nightmares that made legacy feel like theft. But his mathematics lived on. 2019, Afghanistan. Sergeant Elijah Bridger, 28 years old. Great-grandson of Ezekiel, served with the 75th Ranger Regiment. He carried an M1911. Not standard issue. Personal weapon, authorized for special operations. The pistol was a modern variant. Upgraded sights, accessory rail, improved trigger. But the core design was unchanged. Same short recoil system Samuel Sterling had invented in 1905. Same 45 caliber round. Same certainty. Elijah had grown up hearing stories about his great-grandfather, not from Ezekiel. Ezekiel had been dead 11 years when Elijah was born. But from Jedediah, from Clem, from the letter Hofmeister had written. He'd grown up knowing that mercy was possible. That even in war, even in the worst moments, someone could choose life over death. When he deployed to Afghanistan, he brought a copy of Hofmeister's letter, carried it in his vest pocket, read it before missions, reminded himself that war was mathematics. But mathematics included variables, including mercy, including choice. He came home in 2020, one tour, no combat injuries, no Purple Heart, no medals, just another soldier who'd done his job and come home. He had nightmares, different from his great-grandfather's, different from his grandfather's, but the same weight, the same cost, the same understanding that survival requires payment. He never talked about them. Epilogue. Highway 31, Hancock County, Tennessee, 2021. The Tennessee Department of Transportation installed a sign. Green, white letters, standard design. Ezekiel Bridger Memorial Highway, U.S. Army, World War I, 1888 to 1968. No statue, no monument, just a sign. Most drivers passed it without noticing. Those who did notice didn't know the story, didn't know about 132 prisoners, about 17 kills, about 8 seconds that defined a life and haunted it for 50 years. Jedediah stood beside the sign, 99 years old now, dying. He knew it. Cancer. The doctor said months. He'd outlived his father by 19 years, outlived most of his generation. Elijah stood beside him, 30 years old, studying for a master's degree, history, military tactics. He was writing his thesis on small unit actions in World War I. His great-grandfather's battle was the centerpiece. He would have hated this, Jedediah said, the sign, the attention. Probably, Elijah said, but Hofmeister wouldn't have. Hofmeister wanted people to remember that mercy happened. 132 men lived because of that mercy. Hofmeister taught 1,847 children. Those children had children. Those children had children. The mathematics extend. One act of mercy in 1918 became thousands of lives by 2021. And 17 men died. And 17 men died, Jedediah agreed. Dad carried that. Every October 8th, for 50 years, nightmares, shaking hands, seeing that blonde boy trying to speak. That was the comma. What did the pistol cost? $14.50. That's what the Army paid. But the real cost was higher. Dad paid in nightmares. Sterling paid in rejection and obscurity. The German boy paid in blood. The mathematics of Shusted are never simple. Elijah looked at the sign. 117 years. Philippines 1902 to Afghanistan 2019. Sterling's pistol has been in every American war. Still works, still saves lives, still costs something. That's the covenant, Jedediah said. Buy in. The gun works, the nightmares come, the mercy happens or it doesn't, but the cost is always paid. Someone always pays. They stood in silence. The wind moved through the Cumberland Mountains, the same mountains where Ezekiel had hunted 847 turkeys, where he'd learned to shoot rear to front, where necessity had taught him mathematics that would save 132 lives and haunt him forever. The sign stood, simple, green, white letters, a name, a war, 2 dates. Underneath, invisible but eternal, the weight of 17 dead, the gratitude of 132 living, the nightmares of 3 generations, the mercy that cost everything and meant everything, the $15 pistol that outlived empires, the boy who had to shoot, the man who chose mercy, the cost that never ends.